What's up, everybody? Volen here, in pursuit of art. I'm going to talk to you guys about studies this week, okay? I get asked about studies regularly. Almost all the time, there's someone asking me, what is it that they should be doing, or what is it that they should be getting from what they're doing, right? A lot of times the question is, if I do this master study, if I do this whatever really complex hard thing, how do I take all of these things that I'm supposed to be learning from it, that I'm not really sure what they are yet, and then apply them to everything else that I do that I'm not really sure how to do yet though? It's almost like asking me like, what's in a black hole, dude? Because I sort of kind of know it's like there, but you do stuff with it and like other stuff comes out. Yeah, I just do that. Yeah, that should, cool. So a lot of people have this idea that they should be doing something because people say that that's very powerful. That's like a good way to go about stuff. Like you can probably, no one is going to say, dude, don't do master studies. That's like ridiculous. So people would say, they would agree that that's good, but at the same time, they won't really say why you should do them or what you should get from them. So in this video, I'm sort of lumping a lot of questions together. One is from Dante, and he was asking stuff about master studies, so that's going to be one. Another one I had on Facebook from Saskia, so I'm going to sort of cover those two there as well. And lump plus 50 random questions in there too that are just about studies and just about what you should be getting from them and what they're for. I made a video before about doing color studies, and really those videos should be linked together. Because doing the color studies, what I try to explain to you guys over there is that when you're looking at someone who has experience, who is doing something, if they're painting, let's say, what you're seeing is actually a compression of skill. So that person might be doing like 5, 6, 7, 10 tasks at the same time that are lumped together in that one action that the person is taking in the moment. I'll show you what I mean in a sec with a study. What I'm trying to basically convey is that as a beginner, as someone who's just starting out, you only have the capability to tackle one process, one thing at a time. Your brain has processing limitation. I was just reading this book about how much information there is at the moment and how crucial it is to stay organized because your brain has a limit. It's like a bandwidth, sort of like the internet. Your brain is sort of running at a steady speed. They can only process so much information. So if two people are speaking to you, you can maybe figure out what one's saying if you focus on them, but you can't really pay attention to both conversations. So that really shows you the limit. If you had a third person, then of course 4, 5, 10 people speaking simultaneously, there's no point. You wouldn't even try to understand what anyone is saying. Your best hope is to just focus on one. But you can see how small that limit is by the fact that 2 people and you're done. You can't possibly speak to both of them at the same time. Like you'll get annoyed after just 2 minutes. Just you shut up, you say, okay, that was bad. You shut up now, you say you're, okay, how about you both don't speak, right? So what I'm trying to say is that you have a very small limit to what you can focus on. And as a beginner, that limit is your only resource, your only available tool of improving is your concentration. How much concentration you can spend on one thing, how much you can focus on a single thing, get better at it, focus on the second thing, get better at it, focus on the third thing, get better at it, combine, try again, run all 3 simultaneously, and then you get a better result. That's really what happens under the hood of studies. I'm going to show you a very quick example now. Let's say we take this as an example. Let's say you're a complete beginner and someone is painting this in front of you. They just start, there's nothing there. They're doing the study right in front of you. And as a beginner, your first question is, well, how did you put everything where it's supposed to go? Because when I do my study, when I start, I can see where this is supposed to go and then I measure it as hard as I can, but I was like, mine was sort of like this tall from here to here, and it was like, it was all at an angle a little bit, and then this thing I couldn't really get the color of, and then how do you pick what brush to use? How do you pick where to locate things? How do you measure? Do you just eyeball? How do you know how dark to make something, especially when everything's in color? How do you What's that about? How do you do that? When you make your clouds, do you use the cloud brush or do you use the round brush? How do you do this or that? All right, so let's take another example. Let's have a look at this wall. How do you know where it starts? How do you know where it ends? How do you know where the vanishing points are? How do you know where to position them? How do you know how to do that? How do you know where your station point is? Do you need to know that or not really? Or when you're making the bush, like I know that it's not actually a bush because I can see that it's like very loose. But how do you know when it's finished? How do you know how loose you can leave it? How do you know how much detail to put in there? How do you know how dark to make it? How do you know how much detail needs to go in the bricks? How do you get the color do you think about the color? So those are things that might be running through your head as a beginner, as someone just starting out. That's not a bad thing. What that means is that you're just basically deconstructing a problem. Each and every image is almost like a chess game. It's just a series of problems that you need to run through, and you need to find the best possible solution to each and every one of them. That might sound really boring, but the thing about it is that if you actually commit to that problem solving, that might take, let's say you just need to think through the picture for 5 minutes before you start. That might save you a couple of hours of frustration and desperation midway through when you're thinking that you're no good and you can't ever get any better and you have no talent. Maybe you should do something else. Maybe you should try maybe you should just give up on this whole thing. Instead of that, if you just spent your 5 minutes beforehand and just think through those problems that you need to learn to identify and just walk yourself through them. If you do that, you're going to save yourself a world of pain later on. So jumping back to this now, you can only learn what you're ready for. If you're at the stage where you're still wondering, how does this stuff get put together? Like I just put down colors and tones and values and stuff and it just sort of kind of looks like a thing. You can only learn what you're ready for. If you're at that stage when you're still exploring, how do I make stuff look like stuff? What's necessary to make something look like a thing instead of just like a mess of colors or deformed features and all of that stuff that could happen and does happen all the time when you're starting. Okay, so let's have a look at all the different things that come from examining what exactly a study is and what should you be getting from them. So you learn what you're ready for. To me, that's the main key one. Being aware of the fact that painting or really almost any skill that you see, this isn't just about art, anything that you see, if you just look at two people playing chess, you can just say, oh, so you just move the figures, what's the big deal? You don't really have to think about it. Just this one goes like this and this one goes diagonally and this one goes like that. Okay. But if you were to just look at those people and you're not aware of what they're doing, if you were just to see like the same as like a speed painting, if you were to just look at a speed game of chess, you'd be under the impression that they're just moving pieces. And it doesn't really matter what you do. You just sort of have to go as fast as you can and just get all the other pieces and just get them off the board. You might be under that impression. And having speed paintings and people paint really fast and never saying about what is it that they're actually doing or how they got there, that's very detrimental. I mean, I've had a lot of sort of ideas that I thought I should do stuff like, and then realized, okay, that's only possible if you go the roundabout long way. And if you just try to go the direct super fast way, you're gonna crash because you're gonna try what they do and it's just not gonna work for you. You can learn what you're ready for. To determine what you're ready for, you need to jump over here and let's just look through the rest of these. You quickly walk these through. Studies change as you change. That means that as you progress, as you get better, you can do the same study over and over. But each and every time you're going to look for a different thing. It's whatever you're ready for, that will be the next thing available for you in that study. So you can do the same image, and I've done that and I'll show you a bit later. You can do it over and over. And the first time you might be just, okay, I'm going to try and just match all the colors and all the values and just sort of see what happens. Then you do it. Then the next time you look at it and like, okay, I did it, but I can see that my brush strokes are actually pretty loose. It's not defining the form properly. So you can do that same image over again, and it's like, whoa, this thing is now completely different. It's a completely different study, but using the same image. Then you can put that aside. Again, the next time you look at it, you see a different thing. Let's say you've learned more about light, you learned more about different things now. You look at it again, And it's like, look at the interaction between the light and shadow now. So the first few times that I was doing this, it's not that I couldn't see it, but I wasn't ready to take that information on. It wasn't useful for me at that time. What was useful for me at that time was learning to do the more basic things, just positioning thing in the right place, making sure that the forms read. Now you can actually see, okay, there's like a very interesting relationship between shadow and light. Like that's something that I haven't seen before. I want to explore the colors now. So you do that again, a third time. And it's a different study. Then you can put it away again, come back to it later on. Okay, look at the composition. I never understood that this is framed behind this, and this is behind that, or in front of this, and this intersects that at this angle, blah, blah, blah. Another study from the same image. You couldn't possibly get all those 4, 5, 10, 20, 100 things from that one image by doing it one time and expecting that all that's gonna come to you. One is you didn't look for it and you didn't even know it's there. So how are you supposed to learn it? Those are like some really fundamental, basic questions, but it's really thinking that makes the difference. It's because we don't know how we learn. It's because we don't understand any of that stuff that it seems so counterintuitive to even sit down and think about it. Like when I'm telling this to you guys, it might seem simplistic, and you might even in a way be disillusioned, like, oh, I thought I could just sort of start and just kind of get there. I didn't want to go through step 1, step 2, step 3. I didn't want to have to do that. But then you said it now, so then I realized that the truth is that actually the slow way is the fast way. And the thing is that applies to everything. This is how everything works. I'm not going to go into school and all that stuff again, so I'll just leave it at that and just say that we don't really know how to learn. The system that you've gone through is most likely not taught you how to be a good learner, and you have a lot of preconceptions about how things should work as opposed to how they actually do work. Putting in the work and going slow is sometimes the fastest way that you can get ahead. Let me actually now tell you, or just give you some ideas about how you can improve. How do you know what the next thing is that you should be doing? And this is learning to dissect the process. When you're looking at someone doing something, when someone's doing a study, and I recommend one of the things that I like best is to play a tutorial. Like I'll go on Feng Zhu's channel, because I love Feng Zhu, and I would play his videos, sped up double speed with no sound. And I would just look and try to deconstruct, okay, what's he doing right now? Why is he doing that? What's the sequence? He's doing 1, 2, 3. Why is he doing it this way? What if he went and did it that way? What brush is he using? Why is he using that brush at this stage? And why is he using a different brush at that stage? What changed? Why is he doing that? What is the purpose? What is the point? Those are all questions that are going to help you to learn to dissect the process. So that means that you're seeing someone paint something. Let's go back to go back to this example. This is being painted in front of you. So you look, why did you start the background first? Would you start it first? How would you know where to position it? So that means that first we have to consider layering. What's behind, what's in front? Then we have to consider accuracy. Where do we position everything? Once we have that, let's say we consider perspective next. We have to position our vanishing points, make sure that they converge where they're supposed to converge. Let's then define the lighting. What's the darkest dark? What's the lightest light? Let's have those. Let's say those are the darkest shadows. And also you can then go a step further and say that they are where the ambient occlusion is, where there's not going to be too much light going under there. You might maybe have some bounce light. That's not really in the copy of this photo. It might be added though. Basically what you're doing is you're now going step by step and zeroing in on every single thing that needs to be done. So you're trying to deconstruct, okay, to paint this picture, what is it that you need to do? You need to layer things. You need to position them in the correct places. You need to define what colors you're going to be using. What are the values going to be? You're defining the structure of the image and you're defining how it's going to be constructed. Really, that's all it is that you're doing. As a beginner, if you just look at someone, just pick a brush, pick a color, pick a brush, pick a color, next thing. Pick a brush, pick a color, next thing. And everything just comes out one after the other. You need to deconstruct what is actually in that person's head that they're not saying at this very moment, that if I want to do that same thing, I need to be thinking. So it's what are the hidden variables that I'm not seeing? All of this stuff might sound like nothing like what you signed up for when you wanted to do art. But the thing is that this is going to be useful to you no matter what you do. Any career that you pick later on, and this is just a hobby for you. Anything that you're doing, learning to think, what are the things that I'm not seeing that are there that I'm not aware of? This is going to be like one of the most valuable things you could possibly do. Is anything that you see then becomes just a problem. Like, oh, you can do that. How do you do it? What are you not saying while you're doing it? Let's say while someone's fixing your car or just working on your sandwich or just whatever it is that they're doing. What is it that you're doing right now that you're not saying that must be in your head that if I figure out what that is, I can do as well? So with this is just finding out what are the different pieces and then working on each individual one. If it's accuracy that you're struggling with, you begin to work on accuracy. If it's color accuracy, that's a different kind of accuracy, then you work on that. So one is just geometry, where is everything? Second is just going to be color. What's the correct color for this place? What's the correct color for this place? What's the correct lightness? What's the correct darkness? Etc., etc., etc. So you can see that just this one study you can use to just use for accuracy. Just position the geometry in the right place. 2, just use for value. Just position the light and dark shapes where they're supposed to go. By the way, the light and dark shapes, that involves multiple components. So now we dissect that. The light and dark shapes, first they need to be the correct lightness and darkness, but they also need to be the correct shape, right? So that means that I just said one thing, which is just position lightness and darkness, but then you also have to consider that that might need to be split. So you begin with one thing and then you split it and split it and split it as much as you possibly can until you get to the smallest one that you can think of. You try it, you see if it works, and if it does, then you're good to go. You can move back up now. If it doesn't work, then you see if you can split that even more and then continue on. So there's many things working under the hood all the time that are dissectable, so you can make them as small as you can, learn each and every single one, and then move back up. And let me actually show you how all this works. Instead of just walking you through this, let me just show you how my studies have looked over the years. And just quickly to cover the few things in between, it's not supposed to look like anything. Your study doesn't need to impress anyone at the end of the day. You don't need to post it on social media. You don't need to. The only thing that comes from a study is that you've improved. Because even if you don't have anything to post at the end of the day or feel really great about, because you can show it to your granny and she can give you like a nice hug and a sweater, you don't need to do that. The good results will come later on, and they will be better the more that you've prolonged the learning process. A good result is a side effect, not the goal. Meaning that if your study looks amazing at the end of the day, that's a side effect of you just having deconstructed and done a good job of everything that needed to be done. And then in the end, you're stuck with a good outcome. It's inevitable. Don't be attached to other people's ideas. Meaning that don't just listen to someone saying, oh, master studies are the best, or you should always do this, or this is how it works, etc., etc. Find out for yourself, dissect what they say. Why are they saying it? Are they someone that's actually doing it? Have they done it 50 years ago and they can't really remember how they actually did it? Is it someone that's just giving you advice, but they maybe are not practicing as much, and they just are trying to impress you with what they say? There's many reasons for why people would say what they say. Always ask yourself, what is it you're actually doing? When you're doing a study, what is it that you're actually doing? Are you currently practicing accuracy? Are you putting shapes in the correct place, being the correct size, in the correct color, in the correct value, etc., etc.? So are you practicing accuracy? This is for when you're learning. Just ask yourself, instead of wondering, what is it that I'm supposed to get from this? Just ask yourself, am I currently practicing accuracy because I'm unable to put things in the correct place and they don't look right, so am I just going to practice accuracy? Am I able to put things in the correct place, but then my values for some reason, either the edges, like they just don't really blend together, stuff seems too fuzzy or too sharp, or are you then practicing transitions between values? Are you practicing just lightness and darkness? What is it that you're actually doing in each moment that you're doing it? And being able to answer that, or just being able to think about it, is going to then give you really all the information you need. That's all you need to know. Just ask yourself, what is it that you're doing right now? And you don't need to worry about how are you going to figure 50 things out and put them into things that you haven't figured out yet. It's going to become this sequential, step-by-step, daily progression that is ultimately faster than you trying to put 100 pieces together just into this huge, lumpy, disjointed, weird ball and just throw it at other things that are then supposed to magically arrange into whatever it is that you want them to look like. It's like if you want to make like a cake that's supposed to look like the Eiffel Tower, but instead of, layering different things together to do it like that, you sort of get like all your flour and all your candies and all that shit, and you just bunch it in this huge lumpy ball and then just throw it against the wall like 50 times, and you step on it and you hammer it, and then you just hope that by looking at the picture of the Eiffel Tower and having the idea of Eiffel Tower as you're stomping on it with your fireman's boots and hitting it with a baseball bat and having like a smarmy dinosaur thing to just mush into it, you're thinking that might help. It would probably be faster to just do it the slow way and just, put all the pieces together. Let me just show you some of my studies then, and let me show you how they've changed over time. So this is 2012. I hadn't really started yet then. I was just trying some stuff out, just playing. And then 2013 is when I started. So you can see with my studies here, they were all value studies. I wasn't ready for anything more than that. I wasn't attempting color. I wasn't trying stuff. I was attempting color, but it was pretty poorly, right? So I wasn't ready for it. Going back to the first point, you can only learn what you're ready for. I wasn't ready to learn color, so my results were pretty horrible. I wasn't aware of it at the time, right? But I just kind of knew that that's really not what real world looks like. That's not like what this planet is like. So my landscape is sort of failing. So I could do basic things. I was still having this, it was still very strange and weird and like just like an epiphany every single time when I would just put something where it's supposed to go and then just put the correct lightness or darkness on it and it would look like a thing. And with these studies, I was just exploring that, like, what is it that I need to do to make something look like a thing? So all my studies from 2012 were pretty much, what is it that I need, how much work do I need to do, and what is it exactly that I need to do to make a thing look like a thing? So with this one, I'm trying to put things in the right place and give them the right lightness, darkness to make them look like a thing. And just how much do I need to do? And is it always gonna work? Those were the questions going through my head. Another one, nothing to do with brushstrokes, nothing to do with anything like those are all absolutely accidental. This was not a study of trying to render a photo as a painting or anything like that. It's much more basic. It's none of that stuff. If I was trying to impress you, I could say that I was attempting this new experimentation of technique. No, I'm just trying to copy this guy as best I can. And you can see that almost everything is off. But that's what I was ready for. And then that's what I did over and over and over. So thumbnails, more thumbnails, just tiny little pictures over and over, just trying it out and trying it out and trying it out and trying it out, okay? I'm not really trying to get a likeness. I'm not trying to do any of that stuff. I'm not there yet. I'm not ready for that. I'm ready for the basic of, so if I just put like a lighter line over a darker line that's gonna read like a concrete thing in the Colosseum, like, that's amazing. I can just put a light thing over a dark thing and that's like a thing in the Colosseum. I want to try to see if that'll work for me. Then more and more, towards the end of the year, a little bit of color. Moving on to next year. So this is the first year. And this is what I told you guys about doing the same study over and over. So look at this now. So 2013, I tried this once and I just wanted to make it look like what it looks like. I'm not particularly interested if it's exactly the same. I just want it to look like the thing, and making it look like the thing at the time was a success. So this is the first time I've done it. In 2014, I have it again, and I've tried it again. Now this one wasn't completed, but just look at the differences just for a second. So just have a look at the form over here. So with this study, I think I'm more looking at the form. So I can't remember anymore what I was doing at the time, but just notice the differences here and just notice how much this resembles the painting more and just looks more like the material of, like, say, gypsum or stone or whatever it is it's supposed to be. Whereas with this one, it's fuzzier. It's got like more brush strokes on it. So with this one, I was just trying in any possible way to just make it look like the thing. Then with the other one, I'm actually rendering the form now. I'm interested in, does this read like stone? Is it stone? What is it supposed to look like? Etc., etc., etc. In neither one am I concerned of whether I'm going to get it to look awesome or great or whatever. It's just, am I learning from this? Am I getting better? What is it that I am learning right now? And is this a step forward, or am I just doing this so I can post somewhere, or I can just go up to my granny again and get a bunch of cookies from her? So studies from 2012, just values and just very basic stuff. Then the beginning of 2013, the beginning of the first year, it's picking up exactly from the same place. I'm doing very basic stuff, just putting shapes and putting things in the correct place, trying to get them to read, etc., just doing as best I can, then just doing a bit of color. And with this one, I still remember the feeling of, okay, so all I have to do sort of is just kind of get the color in there in the correct place. Not really sure how to make it read yet, but just moving into color now and just kind of thinking to myself, so I'm only just supposed to just get the colors in the right place and in the right shapes, and like that's it. And as amazing as it might sound, like, yes, that's all there is to it. Not really sure how to render form properly, how to just deconstruct something like with so much different detail. Which one do I do first? How do I... With this, I'm just happy that it's sort of in the right place and that it's kind of the same darkness. Obviously, this isn't completed, it's just started, but I'm getting more accurate and I'm just putting things in the right place. And I'm happy that I've started putting things together. Sometimes you gotta be happy with just making a minor step. I thought I would never learn. Like, I thought that this was impossible. That's why I started doing it. I started doing it because I thought if I can do this, then anyone can literally do anything. So then if I could learn to do that, I can help people do other stuff, or that would mean that I could do anything else also. So just being happy to progress in any one thing and taking those lessons and applying them to other stuff is really, in a way, its own reward. And all that's required, just getting better. Walking you through more of these, just more studies, going into color slowly. So the difference between these is months. I'm scrolling through them now, but you can see this is January 21st, just a bunch of apples. Tried them again, so same study, tried it again, first time crap, second time got better, learned more about how to make those read. Then moved on, so this is like July. So this was January with the apples, this is now July. So this took 6 or 7 months. Even though I can scroll through for you guys in like a couple seconds, this took months. It takes a long time. It takes a long time to get better. Because the thing is that your discipline is being tested, and your perseverance, and how much do you want to do this, and how much of your time and your effort are you willing to put into this. 2014, I was just doing values and color, etc., kind of doing good. Then all of a sudden, January, I'm doing line drawings and I'm doing stuff that looks like what you would do before you do all that stuff. Why? It's because that stuff wasn't something that I'd worked up to the level that I'd wanted to be at. So I go back. You go forward, then sometimes you realize you need to push something else forward. So you're over here with one thing and then you're down here with another. Then you push that up, then you push another thing up. Then this one goes down slightly, then you push that back up again. You push the next thing up. Other things go down. It's a constant up and down sort of thing. Sometimes you learn something, then you forget 2 other things, and then you learn those again, and then you start on the 3rd thing. You combine those for something completely new, etc., etc. So that's why that's another reason why you can't really know how good someone is, because there's just so many things that they might know or that they might not know. And this is a month after the perspective drawings. This one came out. So at first things looked okay, then they looked pretty crappy, going back to just perspective and lines. Then this is looking pretty okay again, and this is only a month after the other stuff. So then I regressed back for a month, got better, and then did something different and combined all of those things that I was doing now for something better. Let's wrap this up now. I'm going to show you what studies I do now. So now when I do studies, and these are supposed to be small, and I'm just going to show them to you like this instead of opening them, is now I'm just working on brush technique. I want to see how can I suggest stuff easily without putting too much work in, and just sort of work on that, just developing a more loose style, let's say, and just developing as a painter, like developing painting instead of wondering about color this time, or about values, or about accuracy, etc. It's now thinking of, let's say, brush technique, or about just working on painting instead of working on all those things that you would initially have to learn to get there. But I couldn't possibly start and just work on trying to develop a painting technique when I can't possibly put the colors and the shapes, etc., in the correct places. So you can only do what you're ready for. And you get ready for it by, I don't even know which one the study is. This one's the study. You just do it by putting constantly one foot in front of the other. Okay, let's just go over everything that we talked about today. Studies are not something that once you copy a picture, you know everything about it and all the different variables, and that information is forever yours, and then you can apply it to everything else that are things that you can't even do yet. Because if you want to apply something to imagination drawing or painting, then if you can't do that at all yet, if you can't possibly paint, right, if you can't just reproduce something, you can't possibly do it from imagination without looking, without understanding all the variables of light, the physics, etc., all that stuff. You can't not be able to copy and then want to paint without even looking at something. So it's like you can't even, by looking at it, you can't make it look the same, but you want to make a new thing that's supposed to look like the other thing that you can't even do, but you're supposed to just understand how it works and make a new thing from it. You can only learn what you're ready for. You can't just jump into the deep end if you can't swim yet. So you learn what you're ready for. Studies change as you change. What you're doing and how you look at images, how you look at everything will change as you get better. Doing the same image over and over even will change. Everything will change as you change, which goes hand in hand with that you learn what you're ready for. It's not supposed to look like anything. You're not supposed to have a masterpiece at the end of the day. What you're supposed to have is an understanding of what you did today, how it integrates with everything else, and how you can use that to do new stuff. That's how you get to here to be able to apply the stuff that you don't even know how it's done yet. Don't be attached to other people's ideas. Don't just read that you're supposed to do master studies or you're supposed to do this or that. You're supposed to do the thing that is next in your development. If you're okay at accuracy, then you can move to value. If you're okay in value, then you can move to color. If you're okay in color, then maybe you can move a little bit into trying to design something. Can you apply that same color knowledge to an object that doesn't exist, or do you just only understand color in the context that it's presented to you, but you don't understand the physics of how to take the color and the value and apply it to a form that doesn't yet exist? Always ask yourself, what is it that you're actually doing? So you're doing a study because someone said so, but you're not really sure what you're getting from it. Instead, you do a study and you just do anything. There was another question about what images you should choose. Just choose any image and just start working instead. And just because you can use any image to get better. It doesn't really matter. Just be focused on the step that you're working on at this moment. Learn to dissect the process. Again, just boiling down from big thing, like let's say have a landscape, and then you just boil it down. Okay, I have a landscape, but I can't really position stuff in the right place. So what is it I need to do? I need to layer stuff. So I have a tree in front of a mountain that's in front of the sky. So I'm gonna do the sky first, then I'm gonna do the mountain, then I'm gonna do the tree. You're dissecting, you're going from big to small, and also with the things that you're doing, you're going from big to small as well. You're going from, I'm gonna paint this awesome landscape, to I'm just gonna get this shape in the correct place, with the correct color, with the correct value, and then I'm gonna do the same for the other 10 billion pieces of color that make up my study. And then at the end, a good result is a side effect from what you've done. You'll have a good painting at the end of it. And final one is avoid proactive procrastination. Meaning, don't just sit there and wonder which one the perfect image is to do, which one should you choose, what level are you at exactly, should you be doing this or maybe something else like watching TV, or maybe just go relax for a bit because you think you've already gotten pretty good. So proactive procrastination is just working not on getting better, but on just arranging all your study folders by color, size, date, month, how you thought you did, etc. Just, it's like to do with the work, but it's not the actual work. Just put 100 images in a folder and just start doing each and every one a day. Okay? Huge video, loaded with all kinds of stuff. Wanted to keep it short, failed, re-recorded it a couple times. That's as short as I can make it. If this has helped you, Please share it with people that it might also help. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if I suck. Let me know what you'd like to see next. I'll see you soon. Good luck, and you can do it. There's nothing from all this stuff that any single person can't do. Those are thinking skills. They have nothing to do with talent or anything like that. They have to do with thinking and being deliberate and decisive. And this will help you with anything that you decide to do in your life. I'll see you soon.